Hey guys, today I want to test rage regen efficiency. Now as you can see, my rage recovery on my Vierna is 0% right now, and I just got a nice new piece today that I thought would be great, but a quick testing it didn't seem as useful as I thought. I got this drop, a fracture set piece for the ring accessory slot. It has rage regen as the main stat, and it has some good rolls in attack and crit chances sub, so I was hoping to maybe try this, have a full fracture set on an AoE mage, but my initial tests suggested it wasn't as useful as I had hoped. So in this video I'm going to do some more extensive testing and hopefully get a better idea as to how good rage regen efficiency actually is. As you can see, my Vierna currently has 0% rage recovery. When I give her the full set of fracture, she will have a much higher, I think it should be about 100% or just under. You can see I've got this piece with 20% as well, and there is this piece with 13.5%. Or this piece maybe, we'll see. So it should be roughly around 100% rage recovery that we get by the end of it. First off, we will test with 0% rage recovery. The plan for this is I'm going to go to the resource raid, the gold run, and I'm going to use 3 defenders, each with Olag's wall. This gives them 1 extra block, which means they can block 4 each for a total of 12 blocked, and then Vierna to attack. I'll use her ultimate when she gets placed. She gets placed with starting rage cap, bear in mind. So let's drop her to 256. She gets dropped. And I need to just get this. Now I'm going to ultimate now so I can get it out of the way. And we need to see. I'll check the timestamps after the video rather than try to remember now. And after this test is done, I will put some text up and we'll assess how it went and we'll see what the times are. So I will just let this play through. Okay, so we have a rough acid test. I might have to do a couple more of these, we'll see how it goes. And now I'm going to change my Vierna's gear to the fracture set I have with a lot more rage regen on it. So let's have a look how that goes. Cool, so I'm going to use a slightly worse bangle than I initially intended to use. I used the crit chance one. The damage I don't think matters. Maybe that will be part of the testing. But this puts her as close to 100% as I can get it at the moment, just so we can have a slightly nicer numbers to test with. So yeah, we'll try with this. Again, she still has damage, she still has crit and crit damage, so it's not the worst set of gear around. It's not ideal, obviously. The curse set she had before was stronger. Hopefully that doesn't impact the testing too much. It will just be good to get a gauge of how impactful rage recovery is. I think going from 0 to 98.5% should show us quite a bit. So we'll do the exact same test now and see what happens. Alright, so the first round of testing is out of the way. I will put some numbers up on the screen. I'll overlay them on the test runs as they were happening. And as you can see, there was definitely a decrease in how long it took for the ultimates to come up. I think by my counts it was about 44 seconds for the first full ultimate to recover, and 45 seconds for the second full ultimate recover for the 0% rage regen, so the first clip. And for the second one with the 98.5% rage regen recovery, it was 39 seconds for the first full, 38 for the second, and 39 for the third. There was a third because it was a lot slower to kill due to being worse gear, unfortunately. So you can see that it was shaving off around 5 to 6 seconds of the ultimate's recovery time, which was working out at a bit over 10% of the actual duration it took for the ultimate to come back. That's not too bad. Again, there's a lot more to consider. Killing enemies very slowly meant that we were hitting them longer, which meant more rage recovery from the instances of damage. There's a lot of variables that are kind of hard for me to fix in place for a better test. If you have suggestions on where to test this kind of thing, then let me know. One of the reasons I wanted to use Vierna is because her default attack specifies that it cannot be affected by attack speed, so at least we know that no matter what my gear does, it is not affecting her attack speed. So that gives us a reasonable idea. I'm not too impressed from that test. If it really is just shaving 5 seconds off of the ultimate recovery, and I'm losing quite a lot to take a rage recovery as a main set versus just having a bunch more damage. So I'm not too sold on rage recovery at this point. That's not a huge gain in terms of how quick it comes back, but I'm going to test it with Khamet. His rage cap is much higher. If we have a look, Vierna's is 800. Whereas Khamet is 1300, significantly higher. So I'm going to do the same thing but with Khamet, so I'm just going to swap the gear over and then we'll get to that now. Alright, I've got Khamet in the first set of curse gear that I initially showed on Vierna. Just so you know, to clarify, I have no artifact equipped on Khamet. I didn't unequip Vierna, but she was using Ajax's Rage, which shouldn't affect the results at all. So we're back to that. One other thing to mention is I do have my Pantheon upgraded. I am getting 29% rage regen efficiency from that, which I can't turn off. So maybe there's some scaling at play to consider, but I think that's too nuanced. That's too hard for me to figure out and test, I'm afraid. But maybe bear in mind that I have slightly higher base regen than you may do, or maybe you have more than me. So anyway, we'll begin with our acid test for Khamet. As usual, the first attack won't really matter that much because he has a base amount that he starts with, and I will test as before. So let's give it a go. Well, that was quite shocking. You saw he struggled there. His ultimate comes off so slowly. So maybe it'll be interesting to see how he does with a lot of rage recovery. So I'll gear him up now and we'll do the same again, but with 98.5% rage recovery. Alright, Khamet is re-geared once again. He is in 98.5% bonus rage recovery. So same again, we will do the exact same thing, and hopefully we see some big changes. We want to see his ult up at least another time, because he only made it, he only got it back once during that. So let's see how this goes. So Khamet's testing is complete. He was dealing too much damage with the first set of gear to let the rage regen recover fully, but in that time we saw it took him 41 seconds to recover his ultimate from his standing rate. So if we check, he starts with 600, so for him to recover the remaining 700 rage took him 41 seconds with 0 rage regen, but with 98.5% rage regen it took 33 seconds. To partially recover his ultimate with 0 rage regen took him 80 seconds to get around 95% of his ultimate bar ready. The second full recovery with 98.5 was 74 seconds, and the third recovery was 66 seconds. So there's definitely a lot of gain. As a conclusion to this, I think we can say certainly that there is a lot of rage recovery gain. I think in future I'll test this with more naked stuff. I'm probably going to try to max some gear that doesn't have any damage stats and see how much I can milk it out. But for now, I think this gives us a rough idea of how much you get from rage recovery. It's also kind of nice to test it with actual gear rather than doing it with just specifically the rage recovery stat. But yeah, so from a result, I think you can definitely see that you do get a lot of return from having rage recovery. But I was hoping it would be more than this, really. It doesn't feel like if you channel rage recovery like crazy, you're going to get big results. Bearing in mind, you can't get this on your weapons. You can't get this on your chest piece or your weapon slot. You can only get this on your accessories. So you're not really going to get a lot of rage recovery. You're not going to hit 100% rage recovery for sure, unless you invest in a primary stat, like I did for these tests. And I definitely wouldn't recommend it. Heroes who really rely on rage regen to get their damage out, such as Khamet, you might be able to justify going for a rage regen as your primary on one of your accessories, but I think you would have to have really good gear to make up for it. In this case, my curse set is a better DPS set than Fracture for a mage, and additionally, the items were just better. You saw I was killing them very fast. Obviously, I was not ulting in optimal times. I was just ulting as fast as I could so we could get the timer going. But I'm not too impressed, really. The time that we saw the difference, it just doesn't feel good enough. I feel like from this, rage recovery I would probably value as the fourth stat on a gear piece. I would prefer to have attack speed. After, obviously, if you're a DPS character, your attack percent or crit damage as your main, and then crit chance as priority, and then attack or crit damage as the second sub. Third, I would still go for attack speed, and then fourth, I would probably choose rage recovery. I think that's my priority at the moment. I was hoping rage recovery would be a bit more effective. It certainly is effective. This testing was quite specific as well. These were waves of enemies that would come and go. There wasn't a very long, prolonged fight, but it's just, you want to see more result. The shorter the encounter, the less valuable rage recovery is as well, so that's another thing to keep in mind. From this, my conclusion, I guess, overall, I would say I'm kind of disappointed in rage recovery. I was hoping it would be better than this. I'm not sure how much better than this is balanced or fair, but it definitely has a place, but I think you would definitely want to be very selective as to who you would put a main stat rage regen on. Even Khamet, I think you'd have to have a really good piece. So yeah, I think that's all I can draw from this quick little test. Let me know if you're interested in more tests like this. If you are, then give me suggestions on what you would like to see tested. I'll try to be a bit more scientific next time. I just pulled this piece tonight and I wanted to give it a quick test to see what we got. So that's all there is to that. So thanks you guys. Have a nice one. Take care and bye-bye.